we don't get there in time, we will lose 1,600 men. Your brother among them. Good luck.
Hey everyone, BilboCraft here, and welcome back to another movie review. Today we're going to be talking about 1917. Before I get into this movie, man, I went into the movie with expectations right here. The movie delivered up here. Okay, let me just stand up for a second. Movie's right here, people. My expectations. This is delivery. This is not just one of the best war movies or battle movies, whatever movies of all time. This is one of my favorite movies now of all time. When I saw the trailers for this movie, one thing I was really, really excited to see was the cinematography, the editing, the countless minutes and seconds of action, and I can't, like, my brain is just hurting just talking about this movie. This movie is so freaking good, man. I've never seen a movie like this before. I watched a 10-minute behind-the-scenes video about this a month before the movie came out. And it completely blew me away. And some people, my closest friends, know that my favorite film, like, technique or technology or tool that you use to make a movie is one-shots. I love one-shots. They're just some of my favorites. And I'm going to back up for a minute. One-shots are my favorite movies. One of my favorite things to do in movies, or to see in movies. But I'm going to back up for a second. Growing up and fully becoming in love with movies, and as I've grown up and I've decided I want to be a director, I've always wanted to see a movie that had no sound. Like, nobody talks, you can hear the music, or you can hear the surround sound, you can hear what's inside the movie, but nobody talks. And then we got A Quiet Place. And you know that's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I'm glad that they made a movie about that. Then I wanted to see a movie if you could do a complete one-shot of a movie. And I thought, well, that's kind of impossible. You kind of have to do some crazy thing. Everyone would have to get one point. You would have to get one take, one try. And this movie, it accomplished that. Now, I will say this. This movie is a one-shot movie, but it's not all done in one shot. I mean, there's just no way that it was done like that. But I literally watched the movie. I actually watched this movie the night I watched Birds of Prey, because I was out, I was having fun, and they were showing Birds of Prey, and as I was leaving, they were like, we got one more screen for 1917. I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch it right now, because I don't know if I'm going to get another chance to. And this movie did come out in 2019, and if I had seen it then before, this would have been on my top 10 movies of 2019. But unfortunately, my theater that's close to my home did not release this until 2020, of January and February. So, I'm going to put a disclaimer right now, so all of you people out there will stop nitpicking about this when we get to the end of 2020. This movie is going to be on my top 10 movies of 2020, not 2019, because this movie came out in where my theater is, it came here in 2020. So, I'm just going to say that right now. But back onto the main thing. So, I literally watched this movie from beginning to end, and I was looking at my watch and looking at the movie at the same time, and I was paying attention to the time, and I think I'm going to have to go back and watch this again. Actually, it's actually about to come out on Blu-ray and stuff, so whenever I watch it then, I'm going to spend all my time watching all the behind-the-scenes and looking at my watch again. But I think I counted 4 times when they did 4 takes. So the first shot is like 30 to 40 minutes long, and then the second one shot is like another 30 minutes, and then the third shot is like another 20 to 15 minutes long, and then the last like 30 minutes of the movie is like one shot. So it was about 4 or 5 shots they did all in one, and it was crazy from beginning to end. And this is a movie that I want to make one day. Not the same story, but the same like technique, the way it was filmed, the way it was just done, just everything about it, man. This movie is this is one of those movies that's a definition of pure cinema. Like, it doesn't have to be a perfect movie, but it turns out to be a perfect movie. I cannot remember what the ratings were on this movie. I cannot remember what the IGN score was. I don't remember what the Rotten Tomato score was. This movie, man, it just blew me away. The two actors, man, that played these characters. And just based that it was based off of a true story, man, like, it's crazy just to think. And the whole set, man, the cast and crew, they made it work. Like, as I'm watching this movie, I just felt immersed. I felt like I was in the movie from beginning to end. Just being in the trenches, being in the German trenches, and with the. I'm just gonna be jumping on with this movie. So these two soldiers, they're out just sitting by the tree, just chilling and relaxing, and one of them's like, "We gotta go. We've just been summoned. I've just been summoned on a mission, to receive a message. You come with me?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come with you." So they walk. You pass by a few wounded soldiers. You see a few soldiers that are eating, smoking, just preparing, for battle or anything that's gonna happen. So they get to the trenches. They go underground and they meet with the general. And he's like, "You have a brother in this unit, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, he is." And he's like, "Tomorrow morning there will be an attack by the German forces," and they're both like, "But the Germans left. Like, we've won. We've taken over this territory." And he's like, "We don't think so. We have intel that the Germans are setting a plan. They have plotted this, that they want us to think that they've retreated, but they haven't. So you two need to make your way across their trenches to the other side, get this message to the general, and call off tomorrow morning's attack. Because if you don't, your brother, and along with 15,000 men, will be killed. And in the war, we would have lost all these men, and we will be slaughtered. We will all be dead by tomorrow." So they're like, "Okay, then we'll go." And his friend is like nervous about it. He's like, "Why did you summon me? Why did you pick me?" And he's like, "I didn't know what they were just picking us for. I thought they just had a message for us." So they make their way. They get some supplies. They make their way across the barbed wire fence. They get into the German trenches, and they look around. It's abandoned. They're like, "Oh, it's all left." Da 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 da. One of them, his friend picks up a picture of a family. And I just saw the look on his face. I'm like, this always interests me. Like, imagine, just for a few seconds, imagine you're a U.S. or French soldier, and you're out there, you're fighting for your country, and then you get behind enemy lines, and then you see what their life is like. You see pictures or videos or just anything that's in their home, and you just look at it for a few seconds, and you're like, wow. We're exactly the same person. We're just fighting for our country. Like, that's a crazy thing to think about. And it's like crazy to think, like, this other soldier, this enemy of mine, has a family too. It has a mother, a wife, a daughter, a son, grandkids, a grandfather. Like, they have another life, and that's also a crazy thing to do. I just can't imagine what soldiers are like. Not just here in the U.S., but other countries out in the world. I wonder what that's like, just to have that feeling. It must be really, really hard. I have family members that have served in the military, and I've asked a few of them like what it's like, and there's so many things I can tell you that I cannot believe that it happened. So they stumble upon, and then his friend is like, "Don't move, you're stepping on the tripwire," and he follows the trail and he finds, oh, it's tied up to a C4. And so they're like, "Gently just back up." So they go back up, and then a rat drops down, lands on the tripwire, and lights off the C4. So it blows up. The trench is collapsing, and they're like, "We got to get out of here." And they're like, the whole thing was a trap. Imagine if we went tomorrow morning, and all our men just got trapped in it. Like, yep. So they walk up the mountain, down the mountain, and they make their way across this farm, and they have a nice chit chat about back at home what their lives were like. And so they get to this barn, this farmhouse, and they're looking around. They make their way to the barn, and they see a dogfight in the sky between three planes. And they're like, "Who do you think is winning?" And they're like, "We are." And so the French shoot down the German plane, and the German plane goes down, and they're like, "Oh, it's coming down." And it goes over the hill, and it's aiming straight towards them. And so they both run away. He crashes into the farmhouse, into the barn, and they're like, "We gotta help him. We gotta help." And so they're pulling the German soldier out, and his friend is there just holding him down. He's like, "Get him some water. He needs some water." His friend walks over to the canteen. He pulls off his hat, puts water in it, and he hears something. He turns around and sees his friend has been stabbed. And immediately he's like, "No!" And so he runs over. The German dies because I guess his friend killed him or something. And now he's just holding him, and he's just like, "Am I dying?" And he's like, "I think you are." And it was just sad, man. He kept trying to pick him up, and he's like, "It's no use. You just got to go on without me." And he's there just trying to patch up the wound, hold it there, but it's not doing anything. Blood is still pouring out. The cloth he had on his wound is now fully bloody. He gets a new one on there. His blood's still pouring. He's like, "No, it's already hit something. You've got to go without me." And he gives him like a letter. He gives him a picture of his family. And he's like, "Will you give this to my brother? Will you give this to my family? And will you write a letter to my mom?" And he's like, "I will." And slowly, you can see his friend's face turn from his skin color to just pale white. And you can just see all the blood just drain out of him. And so suddenly these other soldiers show up, and they're like, "It's okay, we're on your side." And they're like, "We're sorry about your friend." He's like, "Thank you." And he's like, "What unit are you with?" And he tells him, and he's like, I gotta get to the front line so I can deliver a message." And he's like, "Okay, hop on, we'll give you a ride." So he climbs up into this truck, and there you get to see all these different other soldiers, which they talk about their life, what they did before the war, and what's going on. And then eventually the truck gets stuck, and he's like, "Well, I guess I gotta get." He's like, "We gotta get off and push." So they all one by one push the truck back on. They keep driving. Eventually, they get down to this bridge, and it's been destroyed. And they're like, "Well, we gotta take the long way." And he's like, "Well, I can't wait right now. I gotta go." And he's like, "Okay, good luck." And the guy that gave him the ride was played by Mark Strong, and he was in Shazam. He's in the Kingsman's movies. And I love Mark Strong. He's amazing. I love every single role that he's ever played. He's just a great actor. And he said one of the greatest lines in this movie. He says, I hope you get to the mission. I hope you complete your mission. I hope you get to the front line. I just pray that you get to the men in time." And he's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because some men just want to fight. They like to fight." And that's a good line to think about. Because some people who, whatever military it's in, whether it's in the U.S. and the other parts of the world, no matter where you come from, there's a certain kind of person. There's a person that wants to serve their country, and then there's another person that just wants to fight. And that was a good line too. I'm glad that they brought it up. So they leave. He climbs across the broken bridge, and there's a sniper in a tower just watching him, and he shoots at him. And I thought like his fingers was going to get shot off or something. He eventually makes his way to the tower. He's there just holding up his rifle, gets to the door, and as the door opens, they both shoot each other. But he was okay. He didn't get hit. Just his rifle knocked him back a little bit. So he gets knocked out. It's nighttime now. So he wakes up, he looks around, and he sees like an abandoned city across from where he's at. He makes his way over, and that scene was just incredible. The lighting, the cinematography, just the music too. The music was a good part about this movie as well. Really, especially the music that was playing over the farmhouse scene. That was crazy. So he makes his way across the city. A few German soldiers follow him. He kills one of them, and then eventually he finds his way into like this abandoned building. And there's this German woman who is watching over this baby, and he's there just like, "I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not gonna hurt." And so they're both talking to each other. She's speaking German. He's speaking English, and they're both having a hard time understanding a little bit of one another. And the baby's there just crying a little bit, and the woman's like, "He needs milk," and he's like, "I've got milk." And so he takes like a canteen, feeds the baby. And he's like, "Is this your baby?" And she's like, "Nope." And he's like, "Do you know whose baby it is?" And she's like, "No, the baby was just left here, so I'm just taking after it. I'm just looking after it." And he's like, and so she's there asking a question about his life, and so they're both there just sitting there, and for a split second you can feel the atmosphere that's around this entire from both of these characters. So eventually he's like, "Okay, I gotta get out now. It's about 5 in the morning. I need to get to the front line before like 6 a.m." So he gets there. So he gets out. He gets chased again by a few Germans. He jumps off a cliff into the waterfall. And he makes his way down the river. And he crawls across a few dead bodies, which was crazy. And he's there. He's panting. He's grunting. He's crying. And keep in mind, he doesn't have his helmet on anymore. He doesn't have his gun. All he has left is the letter, the painting. Not the painting. He has the letter. He has the message, and he has the picture of his friend's family. So he makes his way up the woods, and he hears someone singing. And suddenly he finds the unit there, and they're all there. There's this one guy just singing before they go into battle. And so after the song ends, they're like, "What unit are you from?" And he's like, "Da da da," and they're like, "Oh, aren't you supposed to be joining us this afternoon for the attack?" And he's like, "No, I got to get to the front line immediately before to call off this attack." And he's like, "Why would you want to call off the attack? The Germans are asleep. We've got all the rest of them pinned right here." It's like, "No, it's a trap." So he makes his way through the trenches, and everyone that's around him is thinking, "Oh, he's a crazy person. Don't listen to him." He's like, "I got to get to the general." Da 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 da. And so finally, the battle's about to begin. The battle's just begun, and he's there looking over the trench, and he's like, "I can't get through right here. I've got to make a straight run across the battlefield." So he climbs up the battlefield, no weapon, keep in mind, no helmet, and he's just running. Just freaking bodies are flying, bodies are dropping, people are just shooting at each other. There's explosions. He's just hauling it. Eventually, he makes it to the other side, and he's like, "Where's the general? Where's the general?" And he's like, "He's over here." So he runs in, and he's like, "I have a message for you," and da-da-da-da. And then, who turns around? Benedict Cumberbatch. And he's like, "I don't give a..." And I was like, "Benedict, you can't just be talking about that people like that. Like, what's wrong with you?" And so he's like, "You need to call off this attack right now. People are going to die." And so Benedict gets the letter. He reads it, and he's like, "Okay, call off the attack." And so a few men have died from both sides, but eventually the battle stops. He just saved a few thousands of lives. He makes his way to the food and medic tents, and he's there looking for his friend's brother. And he's looking, and he finally finds him. And he's just like, "Where's Blake? Where's my brother?" And he's like, "He didn't make it." And he gives him the picture, and he gives him, he says, "Can I write a letter to your mom?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, and he tells him, he's like, "Blake was a good friend of mine. He was a good soldier, and he fought. He loved his family. He loved you. And I know that he would love to be here with you right now." And he's like, "Thank you." And he's like, "If you need anything from me, just come and find me." He's like, "I got you." And at the very beginning of the movie, he was there just sleeping against the tree, and so now he takes he just sits down onto a tree as the sun is setting in the far distance, and he's just like, or no, sorry, not as the sun is setting, as the sun is rising. My bad. And he's there just like, did it. The movie was great. It was phenomenal from beginning to end. I was never bored. I was on the edge of my seat from beginning to end. And oh my god, this movie, man, it's just crazy. As I said before, this is one of my favorite movies of all time now. I cannot wait to watch it again. It comes out on Blu-ray, DVD, and on digital on March 13th, I think, or March 10th. It'll be sometime next week, so I cannot wait to watch it. It's going to be great again. I did, however, get to watch the Oscars, and it did win visual effects. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I'm so mad that it won visual effects because Avengers Endgame had only one nominee, which it should have had more. And it freaking lost the only nomination it had. But I will say this. 1917 did win 2 Oscars. And I will say this. I'm glad it did win visuals. I wish Avengers Endgame had won visuals because it was the only nominee it had. But I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to let it slide. Because the Oscars this year was some of the best Oscars I've ever seen in a long time. The last 2 years have been like, really? But I'm not going to get into that whole debate. So if I had to rank this movie from a 1 to a 10, it's getting a 10 out of 10, people. This is one of the best movies ever made. Cinematic history in the making. I said this before. I want to make a movie like this one in the future. Just one shot. This is one of those movies I'm just going to have to study and study for a long time. This is one of those movies that you just have to see. I just wish I'd seen it in IMAX or just IMAX 3D or maybe even 4DX. That would have been a cool sequence to see. But yeah, it was 10 out of 10 for me. Let me know how you guys rank this movie down below. Go check out my Birds of Prey movie review and go check out some more of my movie reviews of the past few years. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Good. Bye. Ever always imagine